This video is about she entered the Beachfront Café and a rich stranger started a conversation. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The bell above the door jingled softly as Clara pushed her way into the Beachfront Café, a quaint little establishment that seemed to breathe the salty air of the ocean. The light was soft, filtered through large glass windows, casting a golden glow against weathered wood. Clara tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her heart still racing from the brisk walk along the promenade. She had hoped to escape the heat of the day, the weight of her decisions lingering like a shadow at the back of her mind. Sitting alone by the window, she ordered a cold brew, her eyes wandering over the eclectic decor, the mismatched chairs, the surfboards adorning the walls, and the locals chatting animatedly. As Clara sipped her drink, she felt the world outside slow down. It had been a long summer, filled with lost opportunities and lingering questions. A friend had urged her to take this trip to break free from her routine in the city, to find herself again, but the idea was maddeningly elusive. It was then that she felt a gaze, heavy and curious, falling upon her like a warm blanket. Clara looked up, and her breath caught for a moment. Across the café, a man was studying her intently. He was tall, with an air of confidence that seemed effortless, his dark hair slightly tousled as if he had just come from the ocean. His eyes were a striking blue, reminiscent of the sea on a clear day, and they held an intensity that made her stomach flutter. Clara quickly looked away, pretending to be engrossed in the menu, but she could feel his gaze still resting on her, an invisible thread pulling at her attention. "Is that a good choice?" His voice was rich, smooth, like a fine whiskey, breaking the spell of her thoughts. Clara glanced up, her heart racing as she took him in more fully. He was dressed casually, yet every piece of clothing seemed to fit him perfectly, accentuating a physique that was undeniably attractive. "The cold brew?" she asked, trying to keep her tone light despite the sudden rush of adrenaline in her veins. "Definitely," he smiled, the corners of his lips lifting in a way that felt both inviting and teasing, as if he had shared a secret joke with the universe. "It is the only thing worth ordering here on a hot day." "Good to know," she replied, unable to suppress the smile tugging at her own lips. "I am Clara, by the way. Nathan." He leaned slightly closer, an air of intimacy surrounding the moment. They felt as if the café had faded away, and they were the only two souls in existence. "Are you visiting, or is this a home away from home?" "I am just passing through, trying to find a bit of clarity," she admitted, surprised by her own honesty. "And you, what brings you to this little corner of the world?" "I live nearby, but work has been relentless lately. I needed a break and thought a little caffeine would help." He smirked, and for a heartbeat she was entranced, lost in those eyes. "Coffee as therapy?" Clara chuckled softly, her cheeks warming under his gaze. "Absolutely, and maybe a little company too," he added, his tone dropping slightly, laced with an undeniable flirtation. She raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet cautious. "Company can be a lot of things, Ethan. What exactly are you looking for?" "It's just good conversation," he replied, his voice steady, but she sensed a deeper meaning hidden beneath the surface. "I get the feeling you're someone worth getting to know." Her heart skipped. There was something sincere in his tone, but Clara wondered if she was reading too much into it. She glanced around, noticing a couple at another table exchanging flirtatious glances and laughter. The café was a hub of warmth and connection, yet she felt a flicker of uncertainty. "What do you usually do for fun?" she asked, attempting to steer the conversation away from the current that was pulling them closer. "Surfing, mostly," he replied, leaning back slightly, a glint in his eyes. "It's kind of addictive, you know, riding the waves, feeling free." "Sounds exhilarating," Clara mused, trying to picture him on a surfboard, the ocean crashing around him. "I've never tried it. I am more of a watch from the show kind of girl." "Ah, you need to change that," he urged, a teasing challenge in his voice. "I could show you some basics, might even make a surfer out of you yet." "Are you always as eager to teach strangers?" she asked, her tone playful, though a sliver of doubt crept into her thoughts. Was he genuinely interested in her, or just playing a game? Only when they seemed like they could use a little adventure in their lives. He leaned forward, his expression earnest. "And you definitely look like you need it." "Maybe," she said softly, biting her lip as she met his gaze, the air between them thickening with unspoken tension. Before she could say more, a group of boisterous friends burst through the door, laughter filling the space. Clara pulled her focus away from Ethan, her heart sinking slightly. The moment felt disrupted, colors dulled as the noise surged. She stole a glance at Ethan, who looked momentarily disappointed, but then he turned to the group with an easy grin. As the friends settled in nearby, Clara's mind raced. She didn't know anything about Ethan beyond what she had seen in the last few moments. Yet, there was a magnetic pull between them, a chemistry that ignited a sense of longing deep within her. She wanted to lean into it, but a tiny voice whispered doubts. How could she trust a man she just met? Clara. The sound of her name pulled her from her reverie. She turned to see her friend Lily walking in, her hair bouncing with each step. I thought that was you. With a mix of relief and irritation, Clara glanced at Ethan, who had straightened up, his expression shifting to one of polite intrigue. Looks like you've got company, he said, an unreadable emotion flitting across his face. Yeah, she replied, her heart squeezing at the thought of the moment slipping away. This is my friend Lily. Lily, this is Ethan. Nice to meet you, Lily said, flashing a bright smile. Clara, why didn't you tell me you were meeting someone? She shot Clara a teasing look. I didn't plan on it, it just happened, Clara said defensively, her cheeks flushing slightly. It just happened, huh? Lily's raised brow and playful smirk made Clara want to laugh and groan at the same time. Ethan chuckled, his easy laughter filling the space. It is true, apparently I am just a caffeine-loving stranger. So, are you going to join us? Lily asked, already pulling out a chair, her enthusiasm infectious. Clara hesitated, glancing at Ethan, an unspoken question hanging in the air. She didn't want to lose the thread of connection they had woven, yet the reality of her life was that she was here with our friend. Thought I? Of course, Ethan said smoothly, his expression friendly. I'd love to. More coffee, right? As he settled into the conversation with Lily, Clara felt a strange mix of disappointment and relief. She hadn't expected a spark like this, and now it threatened to slip away into the background noise of laughter and conversation. But as they talked and shared stories, Ethan's easy charm and Lily's effervescent laughter, Clara found herself caught in the balance, trying to navigate her thoughts. The way Ethan looked at her, the way his laughter resonated with hers, made her heart race, but the reality of her life loomed large. Could she let herself feel this way towards someone so quickly? Amidst the chatter, Clara caught a fleeting glimpse of Ethan's expression as he met her gaze, something deeper lurking there. It felt like a promise of adventure, a challenge she wasn't sure she was ready to accept. Tell me more about your life in the city, Clara, Ethan prompted, drawing her back into the moment, and Clara realized that perhaps, just perhaps, this encounter was the adventure she had been searching for if only she could allow herself to embrace it. Clara shifted slightly in her chair, her heart still echoing the warmth of Ethan's presence. The cafe buzzed with life around them, but her mind was locked in on that captivating exchange of glances they had shared. It felt surreal, as if the universe had conspired to bring them together for a purpose she couldn't quite grasp. I hope you are not one of those city people who only know how to order a latte, Lily teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. You know, the kind who can't function without vanilla syrup in their lives. Ethan laughed, the sound deep and genuine. Guilty as charged, but I assure you I am not as high maintenance as I sound, he said, casting a smirk in Clara's direction, his tone playful but layered with something more meaningful. Then you need to teach Clara here your ways, Lily insisted. She has been stuck in her routine for too long, a little spontaneity wouldn't hurt. Clara's cheeks flushed under the scrutiny, and she shot her friend a glare. Thanks for putting me on the spot, she replied, but there was no malice in her words. Lily had always been her biggest cheerleader, pushing her out of her comfort zone. Ethan leaned forward, his interest unwavering. I think spontaneity is overrated, he said thoughtfully. Sometimes it is the small, deliberate choices that change everything. Interesting perspective, Clara remarked, intrigued. But what if those small choices lead to unexpected adventures? Then you embrace them, Ethan replied, his blue eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her heart race. Isn't that the beauty of life? We never know where a single choice might take us. For a moment, the noise around them faded into a blur. Clara felt the weight of his gaze, something electric buzzing in the air. She swallowed hard, trying to navigate the complexity of her emotions. Was this chemistry real, or was it a figment of her imagination fueled by the heat of the day? Speaking of choices, Lily interrupted, oblivious to the tension. What is your favorite adventure you've had so far, Ethan? Ethan seemed to ponder for a moment, a soft smile playing on his lips. I once spent a week backpacking along the coast of California. It was just me, the waves, and the stars at night. No plan, just exploration. Clara leaned in, intrigued. That sounds incredible. How did you manage without a plan? Sometimes the best moments come when you're willing to be lost, he said, glancing at her with a hint of challenge in his eyes. Like right now, this moment, this conversation, maybe this is one of those lost moments that ends up being unexpectedly beautiful. Her heart raced at his words, stirring something deep within her. Clara couldn't help but smile, feeling the tension shift slightly as the cafe continued to bustle around them. It was exhilarating to think that perhaps, just for today, she could embrace a little chaos. Okay, fine. Let us say I am willing to be lost, Clara said, leaning back in her chair, a teasing smile tugging at her lips. What would you suggest for my first adventure? Ethan's eyes sparkled, and he leaned closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. How about a surf lesson? Clara felt a jolt of fear mixed with excitement. You must be joking. I can barely keep my balance on solid ground, let alone a surfboard. Exactly, that is the thrill of it, he urged, his enthusiasm infectious. You'd be surprised at how liberating it feels to fall into the ocean. It is like shedding your fears along with the water. Lily chimed in, her voice bright. Yes, right. You should definitely go for it, Clara. Nothing like a little adrenaline to break the monotonous city life. Or to plunge me headfirst into disaster, Clara replied, the laughter bubbling in her throat. I'll probably embarrass myself. Ethan shrugged, his demeanor light. Embarrassment is just part of the story. Besides, I promise I'll be right there to catch you if you fall. The way he said it, his voice low, a promise lingering in the air, sent a thrill down her spine. Clara felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Could she really take that leap? Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the caf door swung open again. A tall blonde woman breezed in, her laughter ringing like chimes in the wind. Clara recognized her immediately, Sophie, Lily's friend from college, and she felt a sudden pang of irritation. Hey, everyone! Sophie called, her voice bright and effervescent. She spotted Ethan and waved enthusiastically. Wow, who is this? Just your average caffeine-loving stranger, Ethan replied smoothly, his expression shifting to one of friendly intrigue. Though, don't sell yourself short, Sophie said, her smile dazzling. You're definitely more than average. Clara felt a flicker of something jealousy. Discomfort? She forced a smile, trying to suppress the sudden rush of frustration. Why did it bother her that Ethan was charming everyone in the caf? Clara, you need to introduce me later, Sophie continued, her energy unwavering. And you should definitely come out with us tonight. We were hitting up that new bar down the road. Clara's gaze flicked to Ethan, who had straightened in his chair, his expression now more guarded. Sounds like fun, he said, his tone casual, but Clara caught a hint of something else beneath it. Are you in? Sophie asked, her eyes sparkling with invitation. I am not sure, Clara said slowly, her heart in turmoil. Part of her wanted to dive headfirst into the night with her friends, but another part couldn't shake the feeling of unfinished business with Ethan. If you were not doing anything, it could be a good way to let loose, Ethan interjected, his gaze steady. But only if you were up for it, Clara. His words were laced with the slightest trace of tension, and Clara felt a rush of warmth at the thought that he wanted her to join, yet she also sensed the underlying current of jealousy in the room. Was it ridiculous to feel this way after just a brief conversation? Maybe, she said, her voice catching slightly. I'll think about it. Go, Clara, Lily urged, her enthusiasm brightening the mood. You'll have a blast, I promise. All right, I am in, Clara said, trying to keep the excitement in her tone. But if I embarrass myself, you all have to promise to be kind. Always, Ethan added, his smile warm and inviting. I'll be your safety net, I promise. For a fleeting moment, Clara felt as if the world had shrunk down to just the two of them. The laughter and chatter faded, and the connection they shared felt palpable. She couldn't help but match his smile, the tension between them swirling, leaving her breathless. As the conversation continued, Clara navigated through the chatter and laughter, feeling a strange tug-of-war within. Could she allow herself to explore this connection with Ethan, or was it too risky? Was she ready to embrace spontaneity, or would she retreat back into her safe, predictable life? Her thoughts were interrupted when Ethan leaned closer, his voice low. You were thinking too much, Clara, just let it flow. In that moment, staring into those piercing blue eyes, she felt her resolve soften. Maybe it was time to take a leap. Maybe it was time to embrace the adventure. Clara's heart drummed to nervous beat as she contemplated her decision, a lively calf enveloping her in a warm yet chaotic embrace. Ethan's words hung in the air like a tantalizing promise, and she could feel her cheeks flush under his gaze. So, what is the plan for tonight? Sophie was asking, her voice bright, but Clara barely registered the question. She was too busy studying Ethan's face, the way his lips curled into a playful smirk. Honestly, I am excited to see this new bar everyone has been buzzing about, Lily chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. But mostly, I want to dance. It's been ages since we have let loose. Count me in on that, Sophie replied, tossing her hair over her shoulder, a confident grin plastered on her face. Clara, you should definitely come. Yeah, Clara, Ethan echoed, his voice smooth, yet there was an edge of something unspoken in his tone that made her heart race. You do fit right in. Right? Lily added, nudging Clara playfully. It'll all be fun, plus, it is a good way to meet new people. Clara felt the tightening in her chest at the idea of meeting new people. The thought of stepping into an unfamiliar space with loud music and strangers milling about sent a wave of unease gripping her. But then she looked at Ethan, and that feeling of adventure resurfaced. Okay, I am in, Clara said, managing a smile that felt both genuine and somewhat forced. But you all have to promise to keep me from embarrassing myself. Promise it. Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Embarrassment is overrated, Ethan commented, a teasing glimmer dancing in his blue eyes. Besides, I'll be right there to catch you. As the laughter and chatter resumed around them, Clara felt the familiar flicker of doubt. Was it wise to take such a leap? Part of her yearned for the spontaneity that Ethan represented, but another part clung tightly to her safe routine. The inner conflict gnawed at her, each heartbeat amplifying her uncertainty. The rest of the conversation drifted into the background, the excitement of the night ahead blending with the tension she felt towards Ethan. He seemed to be effortlessly charming everyone, especially Sophie. Clara couldn't help but notice the way Sophie laughed, her flirtation wrapped in sass, but it stirred something deeper within Clara, a sense of jealousy she hadn't anticipated. Clara. Ethan's voice broke through her thoughts, his breast slightly furrowed with concern. You okay? She forced a smile, aware that her momentary silence might have given away her thoughts. Yeah, just thinking. About the surf lesson, he asked, tilting his head slightly as if trying to read her mind. No, she replied, shaking her head, her heart hammering. About tonight. Why not both? He countered, leaning in closer, his voice a low murmur that sent shivers down her spine. It's all part of letting go. You can plan everything, Clara. His intense gaze felt like a soft caress, wrapping around her like a warm tide. What if I fall? She asked, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her voice. Falling is part of learning, he replied, his expression earnest. And if you fall, I'll be right there, I promise. The sincerity of his words made Clara's heart flutter. This magnetic pull between them was undeniable, and yet the newness of it all terrified her. Just as she was about to respond, Sophie interjected, her voice bright. Okay, enough of that. Who else ready for another round of drinks? I'll get it, Ethan offered, rising from his seat. What does everyone want? Just a cold brew for me, Clara called, the words slipping out before she could second-guess herself. She met Ethan's gaze, and for a moment, they shared a smile that suggested a secret only they understood. Coming right up, he said, his voice dropping to that alluring tone again, sending heat coursing through Clara's veins. As he made his way to the counter, she couldn't shake the feeling of longing that wrapped around her heart like a vine. Clara. Lily's voice drew her back to the present. What are you thinking? You seem distracted. Just contemplating, Clara replied, her thoughts still swirling around Ethan's presence. You know, the whole city versus beach life thing. Ah, the classic dilemma, Lily said, her eyes bright. But Clara, you are on vacation. It is your time to embrace the chaos. No more city girl. Just then, Sophie leaned in, her tone conspiratorial. I mean, have you seen the way Ethan looks at you? If I were you, I'd take that surf lesson and ride the waves in more ways than one. Clara's cheeks flushed crimson. Sophie? What? She laughed, unrepentant. You can ignore the chemistry. It is practically sizzling. I don't know if it is that, Clara replied, biting her lip. It is just we barely know each other. Exactly, Sophie exclaimed. That is what makes it exciting. You'll never know unless you go for it. Or you could crash and burn, Clara murmured, her mind a whirlpool of doubt and desire. That is the point, Lily chimed in. Even if you crash, you'll have a story to tell, plus, we'll be right there to help you pick up the pieces. As Ethan returned with drinks, the energy shifted back to a lighter tone. Here we are, he said, setting down the cups, his eyes sparkling with mischief. One cold brew for the brave adventurer. Thanks, Clara said, a smile breaking through her uncertainty. I guess we'll see if I live up to the title. I have no doubt you will surprise yourself, he replied, his smile warm and reassuring. Sophie and Lily exchanged knowing glances, and Clara could feel the weight of their expectations. Her friends believed in her potential for spontaneity, and as she looked at Ethan, she felt a spark of courage. "All right," she said, taking a deep breath. "Let us do this. I'll join you all for the bar tonight, and I'll even consider the surf lesson if you're really serious about it, Ethan." A look of genuine delight crossed his face, and the tension shifted to something more anticipatory. "I am more than serious," he said, his eyes locking onto hers with a captivating intensity. "It'll be fun, I promise. Just promise me you won't let me drown," Clara said, her laughter mingling with the nervous energy swirling in her chest. "Not a chance," he replied, his voice steady and sincere. "I'll be your lifeguard." The way he said it sent a thrill coursing through her, and Clara felt the pull of possibility tighten around her heart. Maybe embracing chaos didn't have to be frightening. Perhaps it could lead to unexpected, beautiful moments like the one she was creating with Ethan. As the evening stretched on, the conversation flitted between stories and laughter, with Clara finding herself lost in the rhythm of it all. Ethan's presence anchored her, his laughter a soothing balm amidst the chaos of her thoughts. Yet, with every moment, she felt the undercurrent of jealousy creeping back as Sophie continued her playful banter with him, laughter sparkling in her eyes. "Ethan, you should show Clara all the hidden gems around here," Sophie suggested, her tone teasing as she leaned closer to him. "I bet there are some breathtaking views you could take her to." Clara felt a flash of irritation rise in her chest. Why did it bother her so much? It was just friendly banter, but the thought of Ethan showing Sophie the beauty of the coastline twisted something deep within her. "Yeah, I am sure he has plenty of recommendations," Clara chimed in, her voice sharper than she intended. "If he is not too busy charming everyone, that is." Ethan glanced at her, a flicker of surprise crossing his features, but he quickly masked it with his signature easy grin. "I could always take you both. More laughter is always welcome." "Great idea," Sophie replied, her eyes shining. A trio of adventurers, what could go wrong? Clara tried to mask her frustration, but it gnawed at her insides. Did Ethan even notice the way her heart raced when he looked at her? Or was she just another friend amid a sea of familiar faces? The tension simmered beneath the surface, wrapping around her like a heavy cloak as she forced a smile. "Sounds like a plan," Clara said, her voice slightly unsteady. "I am sure it'll be memorable." With that, the café buzzed around them, laughter and conversation merging into a vibrant tapestry of life. But Clara's mind was elsewhere, caught in a storm of emotions. Perhaps it was the thrill of spontaneity that stirred her, or maybe it was the undeniable connection she felt with Ethan, a connection she didn't fully understand. As they finished their drinks and made plans for the night ahead, Clara felt the weight of possibility hanging thick in the air. Beneath the laughter and chatter, the real adventure lay just beyond the horizon. Could she take the plunge and allow herself to explore this chemistry with Ethan? Or would fear keep her? Clara sat back in her chair, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. The vibrant café buzzed around her, but her focus was solely on Ethan. He was effortlessly charming everyone, including Sophie. Each laugh they shared felt like a tiny stab in Clara's heart. "Clara, earth to Clara." Lilia's playful voice broke through her thoughts. "You're in another world. What is happening up there?" Clara blinked, shaking her head. "Sorry, just lost in thought." "About what, the surf lesson?" Lily asked, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Maybe," Clara replied, her heart racing at the thought. "And maybe above everything." "Everything? Like what?" Lily pressed, leaning closer with a conspiratorial grin. Before Clara could respond, Ethan interjected smoothly, "You know, there is a saying that goes, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans." "Sounds profound," Clara said, meeting his gaze, immediately captivated. "But it is also a bit scary." "Scary can be good," Ethan replied, his tone sincere, the intensity in his eyes sharpening. "It often means you're on the brink of something amazing." Clara felt her cheeks flush at the suggestion that something amazing could lie just within reach. As if sensing her uncertainty, Ethan leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to a more intimate level. "So, are you ready to embrace a little chaos tonight?" The question hung between them, charged with unspoken connection. Clara opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by Sophie, who was now animatedly discussing their plans for the evening. "Tomorrow we should hit that secret cove," Sophie exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. "I heard the sunset there is magical." Clara nodded, trying to keep her enthusiasm in check, but the thought of being alone with Ethan at a secluded cove sent a thrill through her. "Are you in, Ethan?" Sophie asked, her tone flirtatious. You definitely seem like the adventure type. Ethan's expression softened as he turned to Clara. I am in for whatever Clara wants to do. The way he said her name sent butterflies fluttering in her stomach. She could feel her heart racing. I mean, that sounds great, she replied cautiously, trying to mask her inner turmoil. But what if it rains? Then we'll find somewhere cozy, he said, his smile reassuring. Or we'll dance in the rain. The image of dancing in the rain stole her breath for a moment, and Clara couldn't help but smile back. Okay, let's go with the flow. See, that's the spirit. Lily cheered, oblivious to the underlying tension bubbling beneath Clara's surface. As the conversation flowed, Clara felt herself leaning more into the moment, but the confusion swelled within her. Did she want to ride the waves of this new excitement with Ethan, or was she simply being swept away? Clara, you should try surfing with Ethan tomorrow. It'll be fun. Lily declared, her enthusiasm infectious. Right, because if I wipe out, I'll impress everyone, Clara replied dryly, crossing her arms. Trust me, it happens to the best of us, Ethan assured her, his tone light. And it's usually good for a laugh. Great, now I am being set up for failure, Clara teased back, but inwardly she felt the urge to take the leap. Sophie leaned in closer, her voice conspiratorial. I mean, you could wipe out spectacularly and make a memorable story out of it. Yeah, or I could end up with a bruised ego, Clara countered, shooting Sophie a playful glare. Ethan chuckled, the sound warm and inviting. A little bruising builds character, just think of it as an initiation into the world of beach life. As the laughter echoed around her, Clara couldn't shake the unease that bubbled beneath the surface. Ethan's easy charm was magnetic, yet she couldn't help but feel a flicker of jealousy whenever Sophie directed her attention toward him. Ethan, what is your favorite part of surfing? Clara asked, attempting to steer the conversation back to him, a momentary distraction from her own insecurities. I love the moment when you catch a wave, he replied, his eyes lighting up with passion. It is pure freedom, it is like flying. Sounds exhilarating, Clara said, trying to imagine the rush he must feel. But what if you don't catch it? Then you paddle back out and try again, he replied, his voice steady. That is life, isn't it? You just keep trying. Clara looked down at her drink, contemplating the wisdom in his words. Maybe she was too afraid of failing to embrace new opportunities. Clara, you should let him take you out tomorrow, Lily urged again, nudging her. Who knows what kind of amazing memories you'll create? Or how many times she'll fall flat on her face, Sophie added with a teasing grin. A wave of laughter erupted from their small group, but Clara felt her heart racing. Okay, I'll consider it, she said, throwing her hands up in mock defeat. I'll hold you to that, Ethan replied, his gaze steady and encouraging. The atmosphere shifted slightly when the caf door swung open, a gust of wind carrying in the scent of the ocean. Clara turned to see a group of raucous tourists enter, their laughter ringing out as they found a table nearby. Let us make a toast, one of them called out, raising his glass high. Here's to new adventures, another chimed in, eyes twinkling with excitement. Clara felt a pang of longing as the energy in the room shifted. The tourist reminded her of the carefree spirit she once had, but now felt so distant. New adventures, indeed, Ethan echoed, raising his glass toward her. To embracing chaos, wherever it may lead. To embracing chaos. Lily and Sophie joined in with laughter, hoisting their cups in agreement. Clara clinked her glass against theirs, but her heart felt heavy. She forced a smile, trying to ignore the gnawing thoughts in her mind. As the evening wore on, Clara found herself caught in a whirlwind of conversation, jokes, and laughter, yet the undercurrent of tension with Ethan lingered. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something deeper, something unspoken threading between them. Ethan, Sophie said, her voice playful, what is your biggest fear? Ethan paused, a flicker of seriousness passing over his face. Honestly, not living life to the fullest. Clara felt her heart flutter at his words. There was vulnerability wrapped in his charisma, and it drew her in like a moth to flame. Then what is holding you back? Sophie asked, her tone genuinely curious. I guess just the fear of the unknown, Ethan replied, his blue eyes searching the room before landing on Clara. But I am learning that it is often worth the risk. Clara's breath caught in her throat as she felt the weight of his gaze on her, a silent understanding passing between them. What if she took a risk too? Clara. Ethan prompted, breaking the spell. What about you? What is your greatest fear? She hesitated, feeling exposed under his watchful eyes. I guess not seizing opportunities when they come. Life is too short. Then let us not waste this moment, he said softly, leaning in closer, the air thick with tension. Before Clara could respond, Sophie burst in, her voice bright. All right, who is ready to hit the bar? We were going to dance the night away. Clara felt a thrill of excitement bubble within, coupled with the tension she felt toward Ethan. Are we ready? She asked, glancing between her friends. Absolutely. Let us embrace chaos. Lily cheered, her enthusiasm infectious. As they made their way out of the cafe, Clara felt Ethan's presence beside her, the weight of his gaze igniting something deep within her. The world outside was alive with possibility, and for the first time, Clara felt like she could leap into the unknown. Just remember, Ethan said quietly as they stepped into the cool night air, I'll be your lifeguard, Clara. His words sent shivers down her spine, and before she could respond, the lively streets enveloped them, pulling them into a night that promised adventure. As they started toward the bar, Clara's heart raced. What if tonight was the beginning of something beautiful? Ready for chaos? Ethan asked, his voice low and enticing as they walked side by side. Ready as I'll ever be, Clara replied, her heart pounding as she wrapped her fingers around the edge of the moment, feeling the pull of everything that lay ahead. With each step, she felt the shift within herself. Maybe, just maybe, she could learn to ride the waves of life alongside Ethan.